Greetings, Culturians, and welcome back. There was a story that I think went over a lot of creators' heads, and I think maybe one or two covered it. I'm not sure. I didn't see much about it, and it kind of surprised me. Hasbro's in some real trouble. We probably could assume that, there's been some real shenanigans there, and they've not really scored a lot of successes recently, especially, in the most profitable areas of their company. But they've been claiming to. So with that, let's talk a little bit about Hasbro lies and who was buying them. Here we go. Now, before we get started, just a real quick reminder, I'm trying to get to 50K. The only way I can do that is with your help, which means double check you're still subscribed down below. And while you're doing that, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Hit the little bell icon and turn on all notifications. That way you don't miss anything, because I intend to continue to make tons of videos and live streams every single week, and I don't want you to miss any of those. So do that and do the following. Give me a comment at the end of this video and stick around, because it's going to be worth it. And watch another video from my channel right after this. All right, let's get to it. Hasbro sued for lying to investors. This is coming from our friends over at Bounding into Comics, and specifically Spencer Baculi, who's been doing great work over there. It's been lovely. So, new lawsuit claims recent stock prices were artificially inflated. This is bad. This is very bad. This leads usually to investigations, penalties, and lots of problems for the corporate officers that are supposed to be, well, fulfilling their fiduciary duty. And we could honestly say that hasn't happened at Hasbro seemingly for a long, long time. They were overprinting Magic the Gathering cards, and that's a bad plan. While both fans and Wall Street have long recognized Magic the Gathering's role in keeping Hasbro afloat, and literally it has, a new lawsuit has accused the popular toy manufacturer of lying to investors regarding the TCG's recent sales success, even going too far as to begin overprinting sets in order to sell the ruse. Can anybody actually believe that? Well, of course. I'm not surprised by this. As a Magic the Gathering card player, I can tell you that I've been collecting those cards and playing the game since, well, there was old enough to still be alpha and beta lands available for me to purchase. In fact, I probably still have some of those in a box somewhere that is gathering more and more dust, and along with some very valuable cards that I haven't looked at in years. It's hard to say. I mean, I've had several sets of Magic along the way, including some I know are certainly lost to friends who probably capitalized on them long ago. But, well, let's get back to the issue at hand, the shadiness and everything that went down to put Hasbro in a bad place. Speaking of which, jointly filed by shareholders Joseph Chrono and Ulen McGloin, I apologize to anybody whose name I just grossly mispronounced, with the U.S. District Court of Rhode Island on January 21st. The lawsuit accuses Hasbro's executive leadership, including CEO Chris Cox, of providing materially false and misleading statements to investors as to the current health of their most important line of products, which of course led to the collapse of the game's secondhand market, which is, well, something that keeps things afloat, believe it or not. Per a recap provided by Rhode Island-based Local Prov news outlet, the case receiving their attention due to Hasbro's current headquarters being located in Pawtucket. The lawsuit explains Magic is a popular card game which notably features rare cards highly sought after by collectors. Such cards may fetch upwards of thousands of dollars on the secondary market. Tens of thousands of dollars indeed. This is something that I think a lot of people miss about a card game like this, and probably Pokemon as well. The amount of time you have been, well, buying into the game can actually have some financial benefits. Think of it as collecting coins or perhaps stacking silver and gold. There's a lot of value to be found here because, well, cards are worth what the market will bear. And that secondary market, used to bear a lot. Given the nature of Magic's secondary market, the rate at which new Magic card sets are printed and sold directly impacts the value of existing Magic cards to collectors. As such, the overprinting of new Magic sets could reduce the value of existing Magic sets. Although analysts and investors consistently inquired as to whether the company was, in fact, overprinting Magic sets, the individual defendants repeatedly denied such speculation. That's insane. And let me tell you why. The secondary market's been there forever. In fact, often comic shops will have a card section where you're going to go in and, get your geek on and check out the latest things that are available, and even buy a box of sets of cards so that you can actually, get some that you were missing in your given collection. Not to mention the fact that along the way, the game players have actually complained that their sets were becoming less valuable because of the speed at which revisions were being done. It was happening too frequently, and more cards than necessary were printed, which meant the long-term value of cards would be automatically depressed. And while that does somehow increase the number of sales of the cards, it doesn't sustain the market long-term because it's so reliant on the secondary market. But that's entirely another story. Basing its claims on a review of internal corporate documents produced by defendants to plaintiffs' counsel, the defendants' public documents, conference calls, and announcements made by defendants, the lawsuit argues that this overprinting scheme caused the company substantial harm by causing it to repurchase its own shares at artificially inflated prices, which obviously is a problem. In total, the company spent an aggregate amount of approximately $125 million to repurchase approximately 1.4 million shares of its own common stock at artificially inflated prices from April 2022 to July 2022. This caused the company to overpay for repurchases of its own stock by approximately $55.9 million. Now look, you really do want to increase the value, and stock buybacks aren't anything new. You definitely want to consult with a financial professional if you want to learn more about something in this area, because you should never listen to financial advice coming out of YouTubers as far as I'm concerned, and that includes even me. So, providing a brief overview of the saga thus far, the lawsuit then recalls, according to the company's segmentation strategy, new Magic sets were to be printed to meet demand from new consumer segments, such as collectors, competitive and casual players, or digital Magic the Gathering Arena and Magic the Gathering online users. The truth began to emerge on November 14 of 2022 when Bank of America issued a report that the company had been overpricing Magic sets, that the company had been overprinting Magic sets, and risked damaging the value of the Magic brand. Look, that's something to complain about for sure, but the truth continued to emerge on January 26th of 2023, a time at which I probably covered something like this because I remember I was more familiar with what was going on at that time, still involved in playing the game on a fairly regular basis, once every couple months or whatever. So when the company issued a press release to announce its financial results for the fourth quarter and a full year of 2022, the Q4 2022 press release reported that Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming segment had fallen significantly short of the company's guidance for year-over-year fourth quarter revenue growth. That's something you don't want to do. Don't set targets you can't meet. It's a bad plan. Now, the Q4 2022 press release further noted that the company would eliminate approximately 15% of its global workforce in the coming year, and that its COO would be departing from their position. Now, that tells me a lot. Things were happening behind the scenes, especially in the financial aspects, that they really didn't want to have to answer questions about. And the COO obviously probably landed on their feet going elsewhere, although I haven't researched that. And it does kind of alleviate some concern that the company may have about what may be said, what may be argued, and what may be gathered from somebody that's in that position. And in one final note, the truth finally emerged on October 26, 2023, before the market opened, when Hasbro issued a press release to announce its disappointing financial results for the third quarter of 2023. The Q3 2023 press release reported that the company had reduced owned inventory by 27%, but further noted that consumer products inventories had decreased by 34%. Yikes. So during an earnings call that was held on the same day, which is a normal practice, by the way, the individual defendant stated that the reduction in total owned inventory was primarily driven by the reduction in non-Wizards inventory in breach of their fiduciary duties owned by Hasbro willfully or recklessly made and or caused the company to make false and misleading statements. Yikes. So what does this all mean, aside from the fact that Hasbro is going to be in an awful lot of trouble? Well, it means that a lot of people were privy to very bad things occurring on the inside over at Hasbro, specifically at Wizards of the Coast and the Magic the Card game. The problem with all of that is there's a legal duty to the corporate officers to complete their fiduciary duty without deception or misinformation. They will willfully or recklessly made and or caused the company to make false and misleading statements, which is essentially an admission to practicing deception despite the fact that they're legally compelled not to. In other words, we're going to watch a massive settlement come out in the near future, and I think the attorneys are the only ones that are going to get rich. Anyway, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Do you find it odd that Hasbro's had such a hard time, not only in the distribution and production of collectibles, whether it be on the Star Wars Marvel side of the equation, in their games division, or even over at Wizards of the Coast, which is their most profitable segment? No, not with this kind of shenanigans, at least in my opinion. But hey, what's yours? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you ever played Magic the Gathering, did you ever collect? Did you ever sell? Did you ever buy? Were you ever compelled to spend extra money on cards that would fill out a set? If any of those things are true, I'm sure you have a lot to say, so say them down below, as I asked earlier. On that note, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya. But probably not playing MTG. See ya.